just some general comments. You know, this is abstract is kind of really a challenge to judge because we take away all the things that are representational and that define what our subject is and obscure those to make it abstract. So it really changes, I think, how you have to try to look at those in the abstract realm. And a lot of that, I think the judging, I will just say, if you disagree with me, continue on as you are. A lot of it's pretty subjective. You know, I look at an image and say, how does this feel to me? Does it feel complete? Is it balanced? Is something missing? You know, does it convey something? And then if it does it do those things in some manner that is, that fits with what we're doing? So how do you do the technical scores on some of these? So a lot of this is probably going to just be how they feel to me and how I might react to them. You might react very differently. And so I will do my best to make some appropriate commentary, and we'll see how it goes.
All right. So you ready, Tim?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Print general color, full steam ahead.
Okay. This, I find a couple things interesting about this. I think it's just, you know, from a compositional standpoint, just a good basic composition. We have the engine coming in from the left and steam, you know, exiting out the top. I think just, this is just like a picky detail. We got a little thing up here in the corner, you know, you might want to crop down to get rid of that bright stuff there. You could take a little off the top and maybe a little off the side to keep your aspect ratio and not lose anything. I'm intrigued a little bit by these streaks of light that seem to be emanating from that light. I don't know if the smoke is far enough ahead to actually do that, especially down here. So I'm guessing that somebody put those in, but maybe not. One of the reasons it makes me think that is we got this wide beam of streaks going out the top, but that's where the light is shielded. So the smoke kind of has to be really ahead. I don't know. It's just a little, just makes me wonder exactly how those are. I think it's an interesting effect. Doesn't hurt your image at all. I just found it interesting how they could be there. I do like, you know, the nice solid base that's kind of a, you know, the rust color down there for the train to run on. You don't really need more base, but so, but I do think that the exposure, well, the exposure is probably pretty good. The contrast might be a little flat. The blacks look a little milky, not quite black to me. So overall, I think a pretty decent image, but compositionally, so I gave it a 3 for composition. Impact, I think, is pretty good, 4, and technically, again, lacks a little contrast there, but everything looks sharp, so I gave that a 4.
Full Steam Ahead by Donald Burnell, 11 points. Hot Licks.
Interesting title. Not sure what that means, but don't know the music. But anyway, this was I think a very interesting image. Compositionally, I like it. A nice strong diagonal line here with the guitar, and the subject is set to the side of the frame to allow that some space to run. I think that all works very well. I think the exposure here, look at the exposure on his face under the hat even is good. The jacket here is just borderline hot. I don't know if it may not quite be, but it's pretty, so that's a hard one with the full sun on that. This image, I think, well, must have been cut out from another picture and put onto this textured background. And I think the textured background complements it well. It gives it a lot of more impact to make the subject stand out in the image. I think the technical side, the exposure and focus is good. The computer work needs a little practice. especially like right here in the arm where it looks like they try to cut in the background. It's really, I guess, obvious, I guess. And you know, where the hair is trimmed off, you've got kind of a hollow in the hat here where you can see through the background. So, but that's something that takes some practice. Like down here as well, it looks a little choppy. That's a difficult thing to do so that you can't tell it. And especially when you put it against a background that doesn't allow you to disguise it. So that's a pretty good challenge there. But so overall though, I gave that a 4 for composition, a 4 for impact, and a 4 for technical.
Hot Licks by Terry Hamilton, 12 points. Off the Rails.
Okay, nice caboose, kind of what do I want to say? Just a good, solid representational shot of that. I think that you know, when I first looked at it, I thought it looked almost a little bit illustrative, and I don't know if that's because of mid-tone contrast boosted a little much, or something. I would like to see the histogram on this because it looks to me like we have maybe some highs are a little low, and the blacks are also a little soft on this one. And what I think might have been something to consider out there is to walk around to the other side of the train. I don't know what's behind it to the right, but if you could photograph from the other side, you could have this highlight going down the side of the train here, which has all of these other details on it that kind of makes me want to look into them, but it's on the shadow side. So that's just a thought. But, you know, focus is pretty good. You know, it's good depth of field through the length of the caboose. So overall, I gave that a 4 for composition, a 3 for impact, and a 4 for technical.
Off the Rails by Donna Larson, 11 points.
Wonder if that's even, if that was done as an HDR, but if it was, it's just barely there. But, okay.
Poinsettia in hot pink.
This it obviously has some kind of filter effect done to give these little kind of wavy lines in the leaves all over. And I think that actually works pretty well on this image. Sometimes I think if you do those too much, it becomes more about the effect than the object. But this one I think was done pretty well. It's pretty busy down the right side. So I think I would look at probably, you could crop this. I would say right about, well, now why won't I do that? I did it, there we go. Something like about here, maybe. I wouldn't want to lose much more of the sleeve. You could maybe disguise this part a little bit, but we got this red thing in the corner and this rather brighter leaf up here. I'd want to subdue those. And I don't know about this thing on the bottom as well. So anyway, but the exposure and things seem pretty good to me. So I got that a 3 for composition, 4 for impact, and a 4 for technical.
Okay. Poinsettia in hot pink by Terry Hamilton, 11 points. Tranquil Stream.
Yeah, it's tranquil. Looks like a good place to sit down and just listen to it. On this image, you know, I think the stream is all nicely framed. The greens, and I wonder about monitors sometimes. This is a color balanced, you know, calibrated monitor. So the greens look a little intense to me, a little like too much yellow in them. And this rock in the lower right corner, I would want to knock that down. It's a really bright thing in the corner. I don't think I would try to crop it off because I kind of like the framing on the stream. So just maybe subdue that a little bit. knock the exposure down on that rock. And focus looks pretty good through the image. And actually exposure is, we got a little bit in here that's pretty hot, but not too much. So it's pretty good overall. And with the sunlight streaming in there like that, you have a pretty contrasty situation to try to expose anyway. So a 3 for composition, 3 for impact, and I give it a 4 for technical.
Tranquil Stream by Steve Whitaker, 10 points. Under the Bridge.
Well, this I think is a very interesting image. It's kind of rich with details to explore. We got the Spokane Review building. It looks like the stacks from the steam plant. I think this might be, looks like the funeral home on Monroe. Not sure, but anyway, so it's got a lot of details and the strong compositional arch of this bridge in here to center all of that. I think that part works really well. I am disturbed by the sky. The colors seem just too intense and too bright up there. And I don't think balances real well with this. I would look at cropping this one. Maybe like that, so that you just have this strong bridge element to frame the whole image. And then you have all of this other detail down here to explore. That I think is all very interesting. This one, I think the strong spit in the sky, and this image looks a little gritty too. I'm not sure why that would be, but anyway, so I gave this a 3 for composition, a 4 for impact, and a 3 for technical. Largely struggles, I think, because of the sky area. Really
So that was
bothers me.
that was 3, 4, 3, right?
Yes.
Okay, Under the Bridge by Dan Harris, 10 points. Wheat Harvest.
This was an interesting one. I'll start. I think the composition is pretty good. I might like to see a little more space on the right. It seems to be a little heavy to the right side. Could use a little more room. I like the angle of these two horses looking back into the picture. As someone who grew up on a farm, I just have to say this. If you're only using half of your header, you're taking twice as long to harvest the field. But anyway, but then again, you can only feed as much in it as your equipment can handle. So maybe the crop is heavy enough that the elevator here can't take it all. But anyway, but it tells a really good story with the 6 mules here. You got the mule driver, then somebody who's obviously has to be operating the header in the machine. And then over here, somebody driving the horses and someone else stacking the load of the grain. I like all of that. The color, I think, is a little intense on the wheat. I don't know if there was some effect applied to this. When I look at the clouds, they're kind of just frizzy, strange looking, like some kind of filter, but yet you look at the text on the side of the header machine here, it's all nice and crisp and clear. So I'm kind of at a loss as why the clouds would look like that if there were an effect put there, but not here. I just don't know. But anyway, so overall, I gave it a 4. I think the composition is good, 4. Impact again is good. It's an interesting photograph, 4. Technically, I think a 3, just because of I think the color is off a little and I don't understand what's going on in the clouds.
Okay. Wheat Harvest by Donald Burnell, 11 points. So now we're moving into print general monochrome. Hooked.
This one made me think of the communist flag. Looks like a big sigh out there. It's kind of unsettling. But anyway, it's I suppose I don't know if that picture's rotated or what. That I think that must be a door handle on some kind of vehicle or something for sure. So, but that creates an interesting effect with that shadow, which is what the picture's obviously about. A lot of texture in the back I like. The framing I think is fine. It looks, you know, it's hard to say. I don't know if the shadow should be darker or if it should have a little more contrast to it. I don't know, but it's kind of it's an interesting shot, but not, I'm not going to say it's real compelling. Anyway, so I gave it a composition 3, impact 3, but technically I think pretty well 4.
Hooked by John Leopard, 10 points. Pulleys.
Okay, this one, oops. Okay, this image I think it's interesting. We have the large round thing, the smaller one, and the smaller one here, so you kind of get kind of almost like a triangle effect with round objects, if that makes any sense. I think compositionally that works. They're also set on a bit of a diagonal in there. I like that. And a lot of texture in the background. So there's a lot of, it's not overwhelming. Well, there's a lot of busyness back there, I guess, well, especially down in this corner, but kind of an interesting image here. Boy, it would be nice if this lower right one was clean like these. It kind of, well, it's kind of a grungy look, I guess. But so overall, I think the composition though is quite good. 4. Impact, I gave that a 3. Technically, again, pretty good. 4.
All right. Pulleys by Don Burnell, 11 points. Retired.
As in twice. Anyway, interesting old tractor. Kind of difficult to shoot these. When you're right in the midday sun, we get these really hard shadows underneath, you know, so your contrast kind of goes a little high on your object. It's hard to present it with good, I guess, form, I guess. Is that the word I'm looking for? I think this framing is too tight. It needs a little breathing room. And especially down here where this wheel looks like it almost disappears out the bottom of the frame. It's in the grass, but still, it's like it's cut off a little. And this one has that same effect in the clouds. So, but yet I don't see that on any of this. So that kind of puzzles me why the clouds look like they do. So anyway, I gave this a 3 for composition, a 3 for impact, and 3 for technical.
Retired by Don Burnell, 9 points. Okay, so now we're moving down into print subject color.
Do we want to jump to monochrome?
We can.
Or do you want to just go straight through? I can do it either way. I thought we were talking about doing the monochrome first, but it doesn't matter.
Well, I didn't get a real consensus, but we can go to monochrome. So why don't we?
Okay, we'll go do the monochrome and then we'll decide if anybody wants to take a break.
Okay.
We have less pictures tonight, so we can get through them pretty well.
Abstract monochrome.
Okay, well, the first comment I'm going to make is this probably needs to be moved to color. This is not an abstract, or this is not a monochrome image. There's a really nice gradation of browns and tans and beige and, you know, ivory cream colors working through this design in this. And I really like the flow of this around. It's not perfectly circular, kind of adds a lot of interest to it. And you'll notice as you go around this, you get into the middle, it gets lighter. So I think that's kind of good. It directs you right into the middle of the image. I think it's a very pleasing image to look at. And you even see in the middle, we have some reds and blues and other little colors in here to kind of add some interest in there when you get to that part. So I think it's really a pretty good image. I think the composition is fine. I gave it a 4 for composition, a 4 for impact, and technically I think it's well done, 5, but it is not monochrome.
Okay. Abstract monochrome by Tamara McGee, 12 points. Angles.
13.
Okay.
13, you're right. Go ahead.
Okay. Angles. Okay, I think this was a very interesting image. It's very obviously just a very graphic design. Clearly a image that's flipped half and half. So you get these intersecting angles that work down through the image. I think that is very interesting, a very strong composition to it. So I gave the composition a 5. And impact also, I think, is pretty good on this. I gave that a 4. And now, technically, I think this should be black and white. This is just all about the graphic design of this. I don't need to be examining the tonality of any of these bars or things. And there's a few places that have some gray in there. I would rather see that all just clearly black and white. But anyway, so I gave it a 4 on technical. Did you get all those? I'm sorry, I kind of scattered them across.
I did. Angles by Lori Pence, 13 points. Flight patterns.
Okay, these are kind of tough to critique, I guess. There's a lot of filter effect on this. So how does that affect sharpness, or did it? I don't know. Maybe in this, it probably isn't going to matter. I think in this case, I think the tonality with nothing or very little, it's really black. I think it's, well, I don't know. Might be good to see it pumped up a bit, but I think it works okay on this to have kind of a muted tone. Kind of goes with the feather, I guess. Like this nice strong element up here. The things, technically we got some areas here that look pretty hot. I don't know if there and down here at the bottom and along here. So we have, maybe if you could mute the exposure a little bit on some of those, that would help retain the detail. I think that angled composition works. You have all of these feather elements on this side, and then we've got these are little feather elements as well, but they're very different. I think that separation works. You might consider just painting these down here at the bottom out so that you just have this gray all the way across and just keep this side with all the, I don't know what you call these parts of feathers, this kind, and then these on this kind. But I think overall it's a very pretty pleasing image. So I gave it a 4 for composition, 4 for impact, and a 4 for technical.
Flight patterns by Elaine Giordoni, 12 points. Into the vortex.
Well, now my comments on this one, I think, are going to be, you'll have to wait till we see the color stuff to be, I guess, to figure out what I'm saying here. I think with this one, have this converted to black and white like this, I think it loses something. If it's going to be black and white like this, it has to be really strong in the graphic nature. And I think it needs maybe more contrast or more, I guess I'll use the word pop or something to it. We have this area in here where this lighter swirl seems to be disappearing. I don't know if that is an artifact of just doing that or if it was deliberate. I think it must be a layered image. Don't know. I haven't played with these swirls a lot. Liz a little bit, but anyway, so I think it is just the nature of this image in black and white is just not as compelling. And wait till you see some of the color ones and then kind of think about that and see if you agree with me. But anyway, so I gave that a 3 for composition, a 3 for impact. Technically, I guess pretty well 4.
Into the Vortex by Colleen Bailey, 10 points.
One more.
Sightings.
Well, this was, I think this is kind of an interesting image. The thing that immediately gets your attention is this element right here, which is the propeller of the airplane. You can see the hub of the engine here and part of the cowling. So when we do digital exposures, you know, your camera's right in lines. And if something's moving fast enough, it doesn't write it where it's supposed to be. So you get these kind of funny effects with propellers. Up on the left here, we have this little arc thing. You either need to crop this off or paint it in or something. You don't need that bright highlight up in the corner. Then we have, these are obviously maybe rain, I don't know, but smudgings. I guess this is an airplane window. There's one spot right here in the middle. I don't know if you can see that, but I find it kind of distracting. I would get rid of that one. You would, yeah, you would have a hard time getting rid of this other streaking over here. And we can see some mountains and clouds down below for the train, but there's nothing in here that really commands or keeps my attention very long. Just this little element here till we figure out where we're at. And then the rest of it's kind of, I guess it's maybe too gray or too much cloud or too much haze. So it's kind of flat lighting. So I give composition on this, I give that a 2, impact 3, technical 3.
Sightings by Sister Madonna, 8 points. So that brings us to print subject color. You guys want to take a break or do you want to move on?
Move on.
Move on.
Move on?
All right, we'll
Print
zoom right
subject
through.
color.
By the way, between last time and this time, we got a lot more stuff in abstract than I thought we might, because it's kind of an abstract subject, you know, but so good. I'm glad to see people trying stuff and keep going. Anyway.
Abstract, pink and green.
Oh, okay. You know, interesting color palette here. I think it works. I got the center of the object right here down in the lower third, which gives, you know, some sense of composition to all of these zigzag lines. I think one thing's kind of interesting is right in the bottom here, if you can see right here, the lines lose their hard zigzag and they almost look like they're flowing in or flowing out. I don't know. It's kind of, I just thought that was interesting to see that in the corner. So I think it's an interesting image to look at. I gave it a 4 for composition, 4 for impact, and a 4 for technical.
Abstract, pink and green by Tamara McGee, 12 points. As the wind blows.
Okay. These are tough. You know, I've been out where there've been big patches of this and you see the wind kind of rippling across it. And I always think, wow, that's really interesting effect. But how do you get that in a still photograph and communicate that? I think that's very, very difficult. And secondly, I'm not so sure that this would land in the abstract category, actually. It's pretty literal what it all is. And the wind is blowing some of these around more than others. Now, I do like it's almost like kind of a vignetted effect, a little darker on it. And that leads you into right in the middle here. And this is too bright, too hot. And so I kind of find myself wandering around. You know, I look here, look there, look there. I'm not sure where my exact center of interest is supposed to be. I do kind of like the feel of it, you know, that summer day in the afternoon with the breeze blowing this stuff around. So anyway, I gave that a 3 for composition, a 3 for impact, and a 3 for technical.
As the Wind Blows by Dorothy Detler, 9 points.
Oh, oops, I have to move these up. Sorry.
Your turn. Color Variations.
Yeah, this was another one, I think kind of hard for me to critique, I guess. You know, I think these are obviously on trees. You can kind of see some of the tree in the background and a little star up here that's barely there. It looks like it, I don't know if this is because of the trees that are behind it or if it was either a foggy or a day with a lot of moisture in the air. You see how the color kind of bleeds out from the string of the lights, which is I think kind of adds to that. But it's interesting to look at, you know, a nice range of color, but I don't find that it really holds my attention long. So, you know, I gave this a 3 for composition, 3 for impact, and a 3 for technical.
Color Variations by Sister Madonna, 9 points. Eden.
This I found very interesting. It has one, I think, is a very interesting and I'm going to say unique color palette with the kind of rust colored plant leaves and then the greens and yellows around. And the main subject is darker than all of the, so almost like a reverse vignette there, but I think it works quite well on this. Nothing around there kind of holds me there very long. I keep coming back to these leaves and you can see some detail along some of these leaves, which gives you just, I guess, enough information to know what that is. So I don't know, I find this very pleasing to look at. I like the color tones. I'm okay with this centered subject on this one because I think it's supported by all of these angled light shapes around it. It's interesting when you look close at this. This looks like a canvas. So I'm wondering if somebody, is this a painting that somebody photographed or did they paint it themselves or did they have it printed on photograph and then on canvas and then copy it, or I don't know. I can't really say, but as the image is that I have, I think I like it very much. I think it's pretty good. So I gave it composition 5. I think impact is high 4 and technically 5.
Eden by Elaine Giadoni, 14 points. L17.
Interesting title. I don't know what that means, but it's maybe that's somebody's just naming structure. Anyway, this I think is a pretty attention-getting image. We've got lots of strong diagonals, you know, and I like the blue and playing off the oranges and yellows. The color contrast in there is interesting. Clearly a zoom picture, which gives us all these lines. So it's pretty rich with detail. I think it suits the abstract category very well. I like this one. The only misgiving I have is you have to the right, we have this big red and orange thing, and the red and orange thing here, they seem kind of heavy in the sides of the composition to me. So anyway, I gave it a 4 though for the composition. I think a 5 for impact, and technically it's done well, a 5.
L17 by David Powers, 14 points. Luminescent.
You know, this, I like this image. It has the color palette in there is strong, but yet kind of subdued. It doesn't like knock you over at all, but yet they're very, very vibrant. And we have these nice circular objects in the background of the picture. And then, you know, kind of I don't know, it's a spiraling thing of little lines. I think and they're just, you know, the center of this thing is up a little bit off center. I think that works well. I just, to me, this is the kind of image that's on my wall. I'd probably stop and look at it every time I walk by. I just find it, this is one of these feel things. It just feels right to me. And so I gave that one a 15. I think it's very well done in all respects.
Luminescent by John Lepper, 15 points. Mosaic Medley.
Yeah. This is kind of an interesting one to try to critique. It's really, really busy. It's, it's like a kaleidoscope kind of. I don't know if I'm not sure what to think about the colors. How well they work together or not, or if they're just too different or something. It's obviously, it looks to me like it's flipped 3 times. If you take this corner and you flip it one way and then flip all of that again and then flip it vertically, and you'll get all of this repeating pattern to this. So the thing that crossed my mind is, wow, wouldn't that be something as a stained glass window with the sun coming through it? Take some poor guy 2 years to make it, but anyway, so I think it's done pretty well for what it is. It's mostly just about repetition and pattern. So from that aspect, it works. I think I'm a little bothered by the busyness of it. Maybe it's just like there's just too much somehow. But nevertheless, I think I gave it a 4 for composition and a 4 for impact. And technically, I think it's well done 4.
Mosaic Medley by Lori Pence, 12 points. Number None.
Interesting title. It looks like it's going into a black hole or something. I think this is a very intriguing image. I really like this S shape coming in from both sides, and supported by the curves of the color stripes here. So I think compositionally, this works well for me. I have a couple things I'm a little bothered with. I pretty much like most of it. It kind of looks like a black hole here. The colors on the left side here have gone almost neon, and they kind of pull away, I think, from the central part. And on the right side, if you look, there's almost a line here where the nature of the color and I guess you'd call it the sharpness or the correctness of the streaking changes dramatically. So I think this would be a stronger image if you cropped off that side over here where you got this big change from this to that, and get rid of these really high, intense neon colors on this side and just stay with that almost square composition. But anyway, it works well for me. I gave it a 4 for composition, a 5 for impact, and a 4 for technical.
Number None by David Powers, 13 points.
Oh, okay.
Patterns of Moss.
Okay. Well, this is obviously ponderosa pine with these streaks of bark and moss and bark and moss, a kind of a repeating pattern across the frame. By the way, something about these pines, if you go out by where the fires were, there are some pine trees out there near Malden that are just burnt almost obsidian black. They really almost shine, and it's very interesting, the patterning in the bark on those. And there's obviously no moss on them, but it's just something, if you have an urge to go shoot, you might go look for those. On this photograph, I think about the bottom, almost half of it is not sharp. So when you're shooting something like this, you got to keep the plane of your sensor parallel with the surface of what you're photographing so that you can keep your sharpness throughout the image, because it's sharp at the top and then somewhere about in here it kind of misses it. So, you know, this upper part is pretty sharp. This bottom part is not. Oops. So anyway, so I gave that a, which one is this?
Pattern.
Okay, I gave it 3 for composition and a 3 for impact, and you know, a 2 for technical. When we go half the frame, it's not sharp. It just,
Patterns of Moss by Dorothy Detler, 8 points. Sunflower.
oh, well, never mind. Okay, this one, I think this is interesting. I like the, you know, the orange and yellow patterning that is done with that swirl effect here. I think all of these almost look like something reaching up from below to support that. These green and yellow forked kind of things. That works pretty well. I think the exposure is good. I think that technically it's very good. What I think bothers me here is this up in the right corner, we have this big dark void up here, kind of breaks up the composition, and it doesn't relate to this green streaking up here either. I think this image might be improved if you just cropped it like that somehow and just let these things support that. I'm going to call it the blossom area, and get rid of this void. This doesn't contribute to the composition. But so I gave that a 3 for composition. I think the impact's pretty good, 4. And technically, exposure and things all look really good. I gave it a 5 for technical.
Right. Sunflower by Colleen Bailey, 12 points. Swirling.
Okay, this, you know, it's a similar kind of thing, not done to the same extreme. And so it leaves us a lot more structure of actually what this is. I think the color, you know, the green and the magenta kind of colors here work well. They're complementary. One thing I like, this big arc of the stem, something I think you can do with something like this is maybe an image about maybe something like that. You've seen those where they have that, what do they call it? Fibonacci curves or something like that, where they start with this swirl that arcs around, then gets tighter, 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 and then winds up kind of where the golden mean or that roll close to the rule of thirds area are. I think you could work that kind of thing with an image like this. Oops. Anyway, so as it is, I think the composition is okay, and impact as well. I gave it a 3 for composition, a 3 for impact, and technically, I think the exposure and focus and you know, color accuracy and stuff are all good. I gave it a 5 for technical.
All right, Swirling by Donna Larson, 11 points. Through the Window.
Well, it's another one of those, and this one I think is much better than the last one. This one, again, like the last one, there's lots of details in here to look at, the underside of the Monroe Street Bridge and you know, plants, and so the board on this door. I think all of this works. I also kind of like the way the blue works with the oranges and yellows at the bottom and on the hinges. So all of that I like pretty well. The one thing I think I would like to see done a little differently is we have this tapering object that gets wider that's right along the edge. I think this image would be improved if it were rotated just slightly to line that up make that straight with the frame. That would level this as well. And then you would have, you know, a direct verticals and horizontals stepping through the frame kind of, and then, you know, we have these big arcing shapes of the bridge, kind of countering across that. So anyway, again, these are wind up very richly detailed images. And this one, the color and tones in here are much smoother. You know, don't have the grittiness that we saw in the other one like this. So I like this one much better. So I gave this a 4 for composition, 5 for impact, and a 5 for technical.
Through the Window by Dan Harris, 14 points. This is our last picture, tree abstract. Kind of cool.
Well, we saw one something like this last time with had the seagull head and the deer head and stuff in it. And this one is like the last one. I think this is actually more surrealism than abstract, but that's okay. I like the aspect ratio and the you know, the perspective that's put in here. And all of these colors in here contribute, and they're kind of surreal. And then we have this kind of normal tree growing out of it, which I think is an interesting approach. I would like to see this right around the base of the tree, this real highlight. And if this just matched the rest of it, so we had this just kind of evenly surreal look through, and then we have this normal tree coming up out of that. I think that idea works well. The tree was somehow cut out of something, and it's done, actually, there's a lot of detail along the edge of this tree, little fringes and stuff that didn't get cut off, but it must have been shot against a blue sky, I'm guessing, because you got this tonality out here all around the periphery. I think it would be nice if we could not have that, have the green all over. Don't ask me how to do this. I know it's doable. You use blend modes or something, overlay, or there's ways to deal with that to keep that tonality and not let the backlight show through. And I think had that been done, that would make a much stronger image as well. But overall, I think the impact is high. I gave that a 4. Composition I think is good. I gave that a 5. Impact a 4, and technical also, yeah, maybe I'll change that, 4. Oh, one other thing I was going to say about this base on the bottom, it seems kind of a little gritty here too. I don't know if that's some artifacting that comes from stretching the shape of that, or if it could be smoothed out with a little, if it's noise or what. You have better tonality back here, I think. But anyway, minor point.
Tree abstract by Steve Whitaker, 13 points. That's all of them.
Okay. Well, like I said, a lot of, this is just a lot of how it hit me, how it feels when I look at it. And is it complete? Is it missing something? Does it, you know, does it convey what I think it was meant to? Anyway, so abstracts are a kind of a big challenge to critique. And you're probably going to find as many different opinions about them as you find images in here. But anyway, it's very interesting.
Thank you, Tim. Let's take a few minutes for questions if anybody has some, since we're pretty early.
Tim, can you stop sharing your screen so we can?
There we go.
Great, thanks.
What are people going to do for print since Costco is shutting down their print department?
There's R&R Custom on Monroe. They do a nice job, and I think their prices are reasonable.
They're not as good as prices as Costco, but they are not terrible. But also Walgreens does a nice job.
Costco's still going to deliver prints to your house.
Did they say that? I think.
Yeah.
Just online? You do it online?
Yeah.
You do it online and it'll just show up at your house.
And they
Whether or
charge you
not you can get it
$5.99
in
shipping.
your mailbox without bending it, I
That's
don't
another
know.
problem, yeah.
And they charge you $5.99 for shipping.
Oh, do they?
I have,
Oh,
I have a giant mailbox.
well, that puts it in line with R&R then. So go to R&R.
Aren't the porch pirates going to be upset when they come home with a picture of a horse or something?
One of those squirrel pictures. What the heck is this?
You know, I think that Costco mostly did a pretty good job, but they had some areas where they didn't do as well. Had some things I had to reprint. Sometimes the colors didn't work so well, and sometimes they would be too dark. I think you probably get a better job out of R&R, so it's probably worth paying for.
I agree with
Depending
that.
on what you want to do with your print. But
Anybody else have questions?
Any good gossip?
Yes, Evelyn does not have her microphone turned on.
She doesn't? No, she doesn't. Neither does
Oh.
Lynn.
What's the question? What were you asking? Were you asking me something?
Gossip.
No,
What
I
about
just,
it? What gossip about?
I was asking if there was any good gossip.
Oh, and you just assumed that I'd have gossip?
No, I didn't say that at all, Tamara.
Oh.
No, you're
Call our
assuming
dog in and
things.
show off our dog. Second.
Oh, look
I
at
think
that
about half the
bathroom.
people have the mute on.
Looks like Don disappeared. Oh, there he is. He moved.
Oh,
Turn
yeah.
on your microphone, Don.
Unmute yourself, Dawn.
Yeah, we want to know what's going on in Florida, how warm it is.
Lie down.
Don, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, I
Yeah, there
did.
you go.
There you go.
Oh, God,
I'm
no.
back home.
Oh, you're back home? Oh, well
Yeah.
then turn your microphone off. That's no fun.
Right. It's cold up here.
No, it's your imagination.
How long were you in Florida, Don?
Where?
How long?
I was there for 3 weeks.
Wow.
Nice.
Have you got a suntan?
No.
Wow. Gee.
were the beaches closed?
Well, some of them were, yes.
Hold it. What is going on at Tamara's house?
I'm having my bathroom completely remodeled. It's all the way gutted. My dad's here right now doing the electrical.
You chat in your bathroom on Zoom?
Well, when it's camera club night, I do.
Okay.
Usually do that for my benefit, 'cause I like photography too. I do
You're a
drone.
little, wilder than I thought, I guess.
Yeah, Dad's got a watch. I'm trying to recruit him to come to the club.
Oh, okay.
Oh, your
Okay.
dad? Yay.
Yeah, he does drone photography.
Hey,
Oh,
John,
awesome.
Yeah, Tim, join us.
John, were you in Hanoi, Vietnam?
Yeah.
How was
On
it?
Halloween.
Halloween?
Yeah, it was Halloween and everybody was out. They were dressed up in costumes and parading around. It was pretty cool.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Tunnels were there too.
You see any rice terraces?
No, not there. Not where we were.
So was that a photography trip for you guys?
No, not really. It was just kind of a cultural experience. We visited Laos and Cambodia and China and Vietnam and Thailand.
What'd you think?
It was hot.
Oh, hot and muggy.
Yeah, hot and muggy. It was pretty interesting though. Very different cultures. Vietnam was really thriving. Hanoi is just huge, giant tall buildings. Cambodia and Laos are still struggling. It was really interesting to see.
When was that, John?
I think it was a couple of years ago in the fall.
Was the photography in Cambodia and Laos really good?
Well, it would have been, we were on a overseas adventure travel tour,
Oh, yeah, they're good.
and that we just feel like we had to do that because of the language barrier. But that meant that you couldn't just sort of wander off on your own as easily and spend like an hour or two in the market taking photos, which we would have done. So we just eventually just started using our phones and left our heavy cameras at home.
I see.
I have some friends of mine that moved to Thailand permanently, and they have a motor scooter they get around in, and they said they've got some wild elephants that resent the motor scooters. So you have
Oh,
to outrun the elephant with your motor scooter or you'll get it trampled.
I'll have to post a picture of a Cambodian or a Vietnamese gas station. I'll put it on the Camera Club site, because what they do is they take old liter bottles of anything, alcohol, soda, they fill them with gas and they put them on a rack and they just have them right by the road so you can pull in with your motor scooter and get a liter of gas. But it looks really dangerous.
You don't have to pay for it?
Oh yeah, you have to pay for it, but that's kind of their gas stations. I don't recall seeing a real gas station anywhere.
Wow.
Yeah, you don't light up your cigar.
Yeah, really.
no.
Mm.
Yeah. My son went to Myanmar a couple of years ago, and he really enjoyed it and got some really nice kind of festival. Him and his wife and another couple went for 2 weeks in Myanmar.
Nice.
Well, here's your chance to ask any kind of electrical questions you have to Tamara's dad.
Oh.
How much do you charge to do the remodel, Tim?
What'd you say, Colleen?
What does Tim charge to do remodels?
I'm just doing the electrical part. This is bad though. Now if the place burns, we got a bunch of witnesses that we did the electrical.
Oh, we didn't see a thing. We didn't see a thing.
Blame.
I want to know where camera goes to the bathroom.
Oh, gosh.
I have a second bathroom.
Oh.
Yeah.
I want to redo my bathroom, but I only have one bathroom in my house. And so I'm going to try and coordinate it with my friend that will do the remodel for me, where I'll go off on a trip. He's got a key to the house and he can do what he wants.
That's a good idea. That's a perfect idea.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I have to at least have a toilet.
Luckily, my dad had a buddy that he works in landscaping, and so it's the off season, and he's got all the skills except for electrical. So
Yeah.
he's doing it, and it's nice because it's someone I'm familiar with, so I can go off to work and not be weirded out about having a stranger in my house.
Yeah. That's like my friend. He's part of the family. I mean, he's my cousin's boyfriend. He's a pretty good contractor. He's remodeled 2 of Gwen's houses and 1, 2, 3 or 4 of Wendy's houses. So he's pretty good. Independent contractor.
I'm gonna call it a night. I gotta go help Dad.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
I
Night.
need to.
Jim,
I'm gonna take the dog
join-
out.
Bye.
Night.
Thanks,
Good night.
Tim. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
I see.
Still working on my guest house. Hoping I'll have that done by April.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Your what?
I'm building a guest house.
Oh, who will stay in it?
Pardon?
Who will you have to be staying in it?
Anybody that has money.
Gonna do a little Airbnb in there.
Kind of, but I'm thinking more of rather than doing like a 3-day weekend or something. There's a lot of visiting nurses right now in Spokane that need like 6-week place. And I think I'll try to go after that market of getting, people for a little longer period of time for because it's kind of like, you know, I've kind of got a wildlife refuge here for birds and stuff. Very peaceful and all that type of thing. So,
So what
and
area?
rental rates are really going up too. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping that that'll drive that market too, because I know my daughter just, my son built her a double car garage with a chauffeur's apartment on top of it. And she rented that out just a couple days ago. And the people that moved in said that they were previously paying $800 a month where they were. And their landlord raised the rent to $1,500 from $800.
Oh,
So that's why they had moved out and moved into my daughter's place, because hers is bigger, brand new, and cheaper.
That's a big jump at once.
no kidding.
Yeah.
Are you leaving, Judy? Yep, Judy left. All right.
What's Barbara Murray up to?
I don't think she showed up.
Her screen says
Barbara?
OD.
He's
Can you
muted.
hear us, Barbara?
Muted.
If you can
Yeah.
hear us, you need to unmute and talk to us. Oh, there you. She unmuted. Hi, Barbara.
Turn your camera on.
Nope, she's still muted.
Yeah.
She wasn't for a second there.
Dorothy,
Yeah.
can you mute her?
I don't think so.
There are too many people we haven't seen for a long time.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah. I'm getting stir crazy here, talking to my walls. They don't answer back very well.
Oh, Barbara's unmuted now.
Barbara,
Maybe she doesn't
hello?
have-
Nope.
maybe she-
No, she's
Maybe
muted.
she doesn't have her mic on. Or her
Oh,
volume up. It's tricky on these computers.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of an old joke I heard about some guy walking and his dog, and he sees this guy talking to his cats for quite a while. He says, wow, he says, talk to cats, that's getting really nuts. He gets back home. He says, yeah, when I got home, I was telling my dog about it, and we both had a laugh.
Yeah.
I talk to too many things in my house. Good thing there's not a microphone in here.
Oh,
Yeah. Although if you have an Alexa, unplug it.
No thanks.
What do you mean unplug it?
Oh, they have ears.
What's
So
that?
if you're talking about something you don't want people to know about, you unplug it.
Ah,
Mine is not a tattletale.
I hope
yeah.
not. I won't have one.
Well, I know my old but almost new iPhone. Every once in a while, I have something new show up on it. Really strange videos and everything between, you know, Facebook and all the different apps that are on it. My son's old one, and he always has a plethora of different kinds of applications. So I'm thinking about moving back to just an old flip phone or something.
That would be
I
over.
thought about that, but I'm too dependent on too many of my apps.
Oh yeah, I use a lot of the calendar things, as well as I do use it for photography occasionally, just to record something,
Mm.
you know, to have a reference later. But I'm getting people on as friends I've never met. So it's kind of
I
like,
had a friend request on Facebook from some guy in Africa.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of those.
And I was like, decline.
well, I used to sell some images online a little bit. I didn't sell many, but I was getting a lot of interest from China and Japan and stuff like that. And then I even had people calling me, asking me to critique their images that I'd never met.
So,
Yeah.
Roger, how much of a bird refuge do you have there? Would it make a
That's what I wanted to know.
would it make a small group tour?
Probably about best time would be the end of May or the 1st of June. Because I've got tons of goldfinches, got bluebirds, pileated woodpeckers, downy woodpeckers, starlings, a couple birds, I don't know what they are, but they're pretty rare. And I've even had, well, what's the one that kind of looks like a robin? Oh, towhee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I've got those. And then I used to have a lot more other mammal type wildlife. But my dogs finished off the marmots and the ground squirrels.
Were you out like Little Spokane area, or where are you?
No, I'm halfway between Spokane Falls Community College and the casino out here.
Oh, you're out that direction. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, keep us in mind for spring when the birds.
Yeah, we could do a Saturday or morning or something like that. I need to, a lot of my bluebird houses I put them up like 24 years ago, and some of them are falling apart now, and I've cut out about another 50. I got to assemble those, so got a couple days work to
You're
put them all
still a
together.
very ambitious person. Sheesh.
Yeah, 50 birds. Wow.
Well, two of my neighbors also started doing that, and so in the neighborhood now, there's probably 125 bluebird houses.
Wow.
That's cool.
And sometimes I've seen as many as 12 taking a bath in a bird bath at one time. And then I have probably 5 varieties of hummingbirds. And so I've got 5 feeders up for those, but they won't come for a while yet. They've usually come like the 1st of May, and then they leave on Labor Day.
Yeah. Very seasonal.
Yeah. But bird life is changing just because of the impact of me feeding them and keeping water here for them all the time. I have a heated dog dish that I put the water in, so even on a frozen day, they have fresh water.
Do you have to keep it pretty shallow?
No, it's probably 2 inches deep. But as long as they can perch on the edge and drink, they're happy. But I have another one too that's much shallower, where the bluebirds take their bath, because they take a bath at about 7 in the morning and 7 at night. And they probably are the cleanest birds I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah, because I've got other kinds of birds, like I've got these little wrens, and fortunately I only had like 3 or 4 birdhouses filled with those, but they are the messiest birds that I know of. They crap inside of their birdhouse, and they make a nest out of sticks. It's not even, it's pretty rough. They're not master builders.
And yeah, they never teach the next generation. They never improve over time, do they?
No, they don't. Where the bluebirds, I think it's a lot of the same ones coming back every year, because they've learned where the thing, they'll come and actually looking around for a feeder, even if I don't have one out yet. Like, okay, where is it? And I did train the swallows for a while, but they pretty much passed on the generation that I trained, because I used to groom my dog, take the dog hair and hold it up, and the swallows would come take it out of my hand.
Oh.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So, but I trained them for about 3 or 4 years, and I've been too busy lately to train them. So you got a lot of new ones that are probably the younger generation that don't No. And plus I don't have a dog anymore, so I don't get a brush out my dog anymore.
I had a sparrow family that would come back and nest up under my back porch where, oh, I don't even know how it is. The patio cover comes across one way in the porch and they're able to get in there. And last summer was my first summer they didn't come back. I've been here 22 years.
Huh.
I kind of missed being dive bombed when I walked out the back door.
Yeah, I have a carport and probably 10 to 12 sparrows every night have that for their hotel. And they make a mess too.
They do. They push out their old nesting down on the ground, and they don't care that they've pooped on your screen door.
Yeah,
Well,
I think
good
I'm gonna
head.
put up.
Night,
Okay.
Tim.
See you
Thank you,
later.
Tim.
You gonna leave us, Tim?
Yep.
Good night, and thank you very much for being our judge.
Oh, you're welcome.
Judging.
Hope I don't get too many barbs, but good night.
What it is.
Night.
Okay, good night.
Night, I'm gonna go too. Nice
Yeah.
visiting with you all.
Sounds good.
Judith.
Take care.
Good night,
Good
everyone.
Bye.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.
Are we on? Hey, Lynn, we really liked your